days in a row going live with you all. So it was actually kind of surprising yesterday. We grant you it was a health detective podcast, so we could spice it up a little bit more and it's a bit more exciting. But we had some people tune in live despite it being kind of a surprise. So I thought that was pretty cool. Today, if you know FDN or you're interested in FDN, this is just as juicy, if not more juicier, than a health detective podcast. We have Lucy McKellar with us, and she is, I mean, I keep saying the new AFDNP director, but at a certain point, it's not going to be new, right? You've been doing this for a good amount of time now. I think it's a job that, holy cow, it takes a full year just to integrate with fully because there's so many moving parts and you're doing so many things with it. But we wanted to talk about that today. Obviously, this is not going to be a format like an interview I would do with the podcast. So we don't need to get your like entire history of health and stuff like that. But I still would love for people to get to know about you a little bit. I'd love to know maybe your career background, how you got into FDN, because you were an FDN or are an FDN graduate before you're an AFDNP director. So before we talk about the position, let's talk about you.
Hi. Talk about me. So I basically had like a 10-year struggle with mental health, which I think is quite a common one for FDN. A lot of people tell me that was their reason for joining too. I went through the whole, like, no one could find anything wrong with me. It was all in my head, and I had years and years of therapy and all of that fun stuff. But while therapy helped a great deal, like it helped me manage my panic attacks, I still always felt anxious. And I was like, this is not right. There's something up here. Something is not, like, the pieces weren't fitting together. And basically I started learning more about like gut health and the connection there. I literally stumbled across it and started posting about it. So a friend of mine who was in FDN, she just graduated. She reached out and she was like, hey, you need to do this course because I think it's going to solve a lot of your problems. And you know what? At that point, I felt like I had tried a lot of other things and I knew that I was missing this big piece. So I was like, I'm going to try it. And I was like, if I only help myself, that's fine. And so, yeah, I went through the course and lo and behold, within 3 months, like the anxiety that I had felt for the last decade just disappeared. Yeah.
Wow.
So then I was like, other people need to know about this. So yeah, I started off. I was actually in digital marketing. That was my career path after school. So I was doing that, and yeah, I packed it all in once I I graduated, and yeah, just threw myself into being a practitioner. And now I'm here working for FDN as the AFDNP director, and it's been wonderful.
Oh, you have fully tempted me to put my podcast interviewer hat on because now I want to dive into this. So, by the way, we got to have you on. We haven't gotten to talk that much despite meeting in Vegas and stuff. There's just so much going on there that you don't have a lot of one-on-one time with people. But the mental health side was a huge thing for me. So, if you're comfortable, I'd love to dive into that on the podcast sometime. One thing I'm curious about, I can't wait until the podcast. I got to ask this one, then we'll move on. Do you I've defined mental health in two ways. It's not clinical, just something I've realized over the years, because especially with how fast you found some resolutions with the FDN program versus how long you suffered, I think you'll relate to this. I divide mental health now into two categories of non-circumstantial mental health issues and circumstantial mental health issues. So again, non-clinical, but what that means is non-circumstantial means there is no really clear signs of something bad happening. We kind of just started feeling this way. Now, everyone has their crap in life, don't get me wrong. But circumstantial would be, unfortunately, I had a friend pass away from drug abuse, but his life before that, it was abuse. It was huge traumas in the family. So I'm not getting personal with details, but I'm curious, someone like you that 10 years and then in 3 months could get resolution, do you resonate more with that non-circumstantial definition where like you almost didn't know why this was happening, or maybe it didn't feel justified compared to what happened in
Yes,
your life?
very much so.
Okay.
So my life literally changed overnight. I was asleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night in the middle of a full-blown panic attack. Had absolutely no idea what was happening to me. Literally thought I was dying because I'd never even heard the words mental health before this. I mean, 'cause this is going back like, I don't know, like 15 years ago or whatever.
You're 100% get what you're saying. Yes.
Just wasn't talked about. And literally I thought I was going to die that night. And I went to a doctor the next day because I didn't call an ambulance. I wanted to, but I like didn't want to make a scene.
Mhm.
So I like
Yeah,
just basically paced up and down thinking I was dying. And even when I went to the doctor the next day, no one could tell me what had happened to me. All my results were normal from the tests they run. No one used the words mental health. No one used the words panic attack. And yeah, nothing specific had happened to me in my life. It just was
yeah,
one of those things. But now I know it's from the way that I was living, like all the internal stuff that was happening. Um, and
sure.
so, yeah, I went on this big, long journey and no one could help me. So I helped myself.
Okay. And so again, man, shameless plug for the podcast, Health Detective Podcast. Go subscribe to it. Wait for Lucy's episode. Because you and I don't think you even realize this, are the beginning of your story is identical to mine. So like literally identical. So we'll have fun with that. But the reason I also even asked that second question, it's not just for my podcast hat, but it's to show people what they would have gotten to see yesterday with Kurt Stratman if they were on live with us. The people that work at FDN, what's really cool about all of us, and I'll say this, I think we're cool. We've actually been through some of this stuff. Like the vast majority of employees at FDN have been through the FDN program and been through their own health challenges. It was really only in the last couple of years that we started hiring people that didn't have the certification, because eventually you realize there's different parts in a business that you just need some people for, and they don't have to go through the course
Yeah.
to do well. But for the longest time, there was like 30 employees at one point at FDN that were all FDN graduates. So it's kind of cool. We all get it. And these are the people leading the helm. So Lucy has a super important role. You wouldn't really see her as much when you're a trainee. Every now and then, I think you guys post some stuff in the trainee group, but it's mostly on the graduate side. So let's talk about this. For someone that has no idea what AFDNP even stands for, we'll break it down simply. What does the acronym mean? What is the program, and what's your role as the director, I guess?
So AFDNP is the Association of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Professionals. We were using practitioner. We switched over to professionals now. And basically, it's everyone that has gone through the course that wants to. You have the opportunity to join. It's a monthly fee, and it's basically to help support you as you go from like being a trainee to a graduate to like a professional. Basically, it's for the people that want the extra support. You're looking to turn it into a business, or even if you just want to help the people around you, but you feel like you need a place to ask questions. It's just the continuation of that. So it's basically kind of it's like the back end of what we do in the course, but it's just being reiterated. And it also comes with we're in a really fast moving industry, right? So it's constantly being updated. And if you go that alone, not only do you have everything you've learned from the course, like to, go over again and again, but you've then got to spend hours researching and training. And there's so many different labs out there and, you hear about them all the time. Instead of like having to go like 12 different places to get all of this information, you can just get it from one place. You can just come to AFDNP and we will let you know like what is current, what you should be learning, what are the, most important research papers. Reed and Dr. Gonshaw do a really great job of that, keeping everyone updated. And it just saves hours of research and being on your own. And anyone that has gone through an entrepreneurial journey, it's really hard to go it alone. It really is. It's exhausting. It can be really draining, especially when things are not necessarily going the way that you want them to, or perhaps you've got a little bit of a difficult client, or you feel like you don't have the answers. You can get the support for all of that in one place. And I think it really makes a difference of whether or not you're going to be successful. And that is kind of the driving force for me as like the director. Like our success is the success of our graduates. So it's really important to us that we support them and back them up with training and like the things that they tell us that they need, whether it's business support or more sort of different like aspects of like functional health. But we try and come at it from all different angles.
Sure. And it was actually really cool to watch this kind of get built. Because if I'm not mistaken, when I graduated like 6 years ago, we either didn't have it when I graduated and it was just starting, or it was just starting and it wasn't something that a bunch of people were in. And now you look at it nowadays and it's like, holy crap, there's like 900 people and counting in the group, constantly
Mhm.
going up. And yes, staff's included in there, but you're talking about almost 1,000 graduates that actively choose to be in this. So for those that might be seeing us for the first time, there's several thousand FDN graduates. But what's really cool about AFDNP and why the P being professionals is very appropriate is these are people that are voluntarily taking the time and putting in a small amount of money to be able to access this every month. So you get a certain type of individual that you're communicating with there. And I love what you said about, you kind of need it. It's almost essential to have success with this kind of stuff because we become the people that we spend the most time
Yeah.
with. And most of us are starting into our health journey, unfortunately, very isolated. You have a weird health symptom out of nowhere, panic attacks out of nowhere. Literally the same thing for me. That was my first mental health symptom that we recall as a family because I was so young. And so this stuff starts, you're very isolated in that, but you're willing to take this journey and you're willing to go through a certification course and say, hey, I'm going to try this. The last thing you want to do now is be isolated in that journey and your
Mhm.
entrepreneurial journey. So if you can join a graduates group that now you're surrounded by 1,000 people who are all seriously doing this and all active in the group. I shouldn't say all 1,000 are active. That'd be a little extreme, but they're paying. So they're watching at the very least. You'll get these names out of nowhere that you haven't seen comment in months, but they found the thing that they liked and that they wanted to contribute
Yeah.
to. So it's really special. One thing too I want to talk about today are all of the benefits that people get, because I mentioned that there's a fee. And I think the first thing that a lot of people would think like, okay, is this just a way to make extra money as an FDN? But or as an FDN company, but quite frankly, the fee compared to what you get is like nothing. I feel like that's more just to help retain everything that we offer in there so that we can actually support it.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the top features that you think, as like the AFDNP executive director, are the coolest things that we give to graduates?
So my favorites, so we run a lot of educational webinars. My favorites are Detective Hour. We have 3 Detective Hours a month. And basically what that is if you are really stuck on one of your cases, you can actually submit them to be reviewed in Detective Hour. So a clinical advisor will go over your case with you. I think you need I think it's a minimum of 3 test results. And they will literally go over the test results with you live on the call. And it's completely free because people get to watch and learn. And that is like, it's one of my favorites because I think, you go over test results and things like that in the course, but I think it's really solidified when problems come up that you can't solve yourself and you have to reach out and kind of learn new aspects. And I think it's really powerful to watch other people go through it and learn from, when they're learning. So it's just like it's basically we all learn together, and it's one of my favorites, and I think it's one of our most popular webinars. Um, another Another perk that's one of my favorites is we actually include a year's, so not a year's, it's just free every year for you, the access to the natural medicines database, which is a
Hmm.
really great place for you to check if there's any interactions between the medications that your clients are on and the supplements that you're recommending, which as unlicensed practitioners is a really, really important tool because obviously we don't want to be recommending anything that is going to compromise someone's medication. And it's $120 around that mark a year, and it's just included in your AFDNP membership. So that is a huge perk.
Wow. I knew it was included and I knew it was a paid thing. I never realized it was that much per year. And I think the natural medicines database might be the answer to this next question. So that's okay if it is. But I was curious, people go through even FDN, the main course, but also AFDNP, and they don't use everything that they get because sometimes they don't realize all this cool stuff that's included. So my next question was going to be, like, we already answered what's the top features that you like. I was going to ask, what do you think one of the features that is least used but people should be using is? And I know the natural medicines database is like grossly underutilized, even though people would love it if they fully understood it. So would that be the same answer, or is there another feature that you think not enough people use and you're like, guys, check this out because it's awesome and included in your membership?
So That's definitely up there. But I also think that people, they forget about the back catalog of trainings that we have. And I think if people realize, like, we have hundreds of hours of trainings from doctors and, very experienced practitioners that have created like 6, 7 figures in their business. And it's all there, but I think people forget that they can like go back and absorb and learn that information. Obviously, some of it, changes with time, but a lot of it is still really relevant and a great place, especially if you're starting out. It's really, really powerful. So definitely those two things I would say are underutilized.
Yeah. Well, that's actually awesome. That would have been my answer because even when I'm on some of the calls with people who are thinking about enrolling in the FDN course, I always explain to them, not only are you, in my opinion, I think the course is totally worth the price and then some, especially if you're going to go do this as work, it's a
Mhm.
no-brainer. But the AFDNP membership is already so affordable that if you actually count the archived content, the stuff that's already recorded and still available, there's more content there than there is in the FDN course at this point because it's been so many years. I think it's like several hundred hours of stuff, right?
It,
Would that
it,
make
it
sense?
is. I'm not sure the exact. I'm actually, funnily enough, about to go through it. So we're about to do like a refresh and make it like really easy for people to find older material. But so I'll be able to give you an exact answer soon. But it is hundreds of hours. It is. There's so much content in
Yeah.
there.
I remember the past director Jennifer Woodward, who some of you watching might be familiar with. We By the way, we do have some people live, which is great. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free. We're a little later in the day, and we know this one is kind of a specific topic and new, so we weren't sure if anyone would tune in live. But if you're here with us, feel free to ask any questions that are ideally relevant. We wouldn't be asking random stuff, but relevant to the conversation would be great. But Jennifer Woodward, the previous director of AFDNP, I remember when I brought this up to her one time, she had said, and I guess this means there's at least 360 hours of content. She said if you watched an hour every single day for a year, you still wouldn't be done all the archived content. And then of course there's new stuff being put out every week. So
Mhm.
it's like, holy cow. That to me is one of the best benefits of that thing. You can go through this extremely dense program that is the FDN certification, and then for an extremely low monthly fee, get access to a huge community, get access to clinical advisors, get access to more archived content than you could practically do in
Mhm.
a year or two, especially if you're doing an FDN business properly and actually going out doing the work. Then you couldn't even finish it in a year. I think that's just amazing. So we already mentioned and alluded to this idea through P standing for professionals, that it's someone who's serious that would go into the AFDNP group. But just so people think or don't think that they have to be like suit and tie and briefcase business type of person to join AFDNP, how would you define the ideal candidate for someone going into AFDNP after they graduated the FDN course? Like, what would that person look like? What would they want to be doing with their certification?
So for me, it is. I think the person that will get the most out of it is someone that wants to continue the education, to turn it into a business. Like, they're hungry for that knowledge. They're hungry to make a difference, not only in their own lives, their families' lives, their friends' lives, and I forgot the word is, but like the circles that surround them, essentially, like turn it into a business and make a difference in people's life in a really positive way. As far as like, age or anything like that, I wouldn't be specific about that, but just someone
Sure.
that is it really wants to make a real go of this and create a life from it. A
Mhm.
healthy.
Okay. Yeah, yes, yes. One thing I wanted to ask too is the vision, and I don't know how much you can share today, if anything at all, but from someone obviously inside the company, I do know that AFDNP is kind of taking, I think, this revamp and adding even more stuff. So to the degree that you're able to share, what can the practitioners or even potential trainees on this call today, what can they expect to see from AFDNP in the future? Like, what are going to be some of the new and exciting things that are being added there?
So we're looking at adding more support, more clinical support, so people can have access. Like getting their questions answered faster. Because, like you say, we're almost 1,000 members now. Like, and that's just in the Facebook group. That's not even including the people that are for personal choice, not in the Facebook group. So
Mm.
it's although there's a lot of professionals in there, it's a great community. People will jump in and answer your questions, but we really want to make sure that we support you from inside FDN. So we're going to be looking at getting someone specifically to help out with FDN and come to all the webinars, because we're running at least 8 webinars a month right now. So we're looking at making sure that that is backed up with that support. And also, I kind of mentioned earlier, we are going to be revamping our website. So we're going to have a specific AFDNP website, and you're going to be able to log in once you're a graduate and be able to search through the treasure trove of everything that we have, go through our backlog of all these webinars, and we're going to be able to we're going to be grouping them. So if you are looking for something on mental health, you can search mental health and things will come up. Whereas right now, unfortunately, you kind of have to scroll through. So we're just going to make it like the user journey a bit more friendly and easy. Because I think there's, like I said before, there's like a whole back end that people aren't using. And they need to, because there's so much information in there.
Well, I was about to say it's a hell of a job to undertake. So God bless you for it, for going back and categorizing all the archived stuff. Because I remember 3 years ago thinking, dang, someone probably should have done that from the beginning. And now there's another 3 years worth of content on top of that. But once it is categorized, I think that's, we both just said that one of the most underutilized things is the archived stuff. And quite frankly, I believe that a major part of that is the fact that it's not organized. If I have to scroll back through hundreds of videos and there's no tags or keywords necessarily on the video, of course I'm going to give up. But if I can go in and I could say, all right, mental health, or my gosh, how many on autoimmune, thyroid conditions, skin conditions, gut stuff, it's going to be amazing when you can go in there and see stuff from 5 years ago or however long AFDNP has been around at this point. Because the labs get updated. Sure. There's new and fancy supplements. Sure. The principles of FDN that help get someone healthy, that is never going to change. This is like addition and subtraction in math. Like that is going to be the core of everything. And you can add all the fancy stuff on, and maybe there's new theories and stuff like that every now and then, but the principles are the main stuff. If you get that down in FDN, you can take away all the labs from us tomorrow, and we're still going to be able to have a significant impact on people. So all that to say is, yeah, you can go back 6 years and still get tons of value from the things that were shown back then. At worst, maybe a lab changed, but that's about it. Everything else can still be applied to clients that you're dealing with today. Cool. So we're almost, again, I didn't expect this one to be a full hour today. I know that we had that allotted. There's only so much that we can talk about with AFDNP in these programs. I'm more excited to get you on the podcast now. So we will be recruiting that or you for that very soon. I guess what I'd like to wrap up on today, then, if it's okay, and I don't see any audience questions at this time, what are maybe some things that, I could have asked better today, like, or not, don't give me the feedback, but maybe answers to questions that you would have liked me to ask today, things that people just need to know about AFDNP. I mean, we talked about the vision, we talked about the definition of it, we talked about the ideal person going into it. So we did cover a lot in this 30 minutes, but is there anything that we didn't maybe get a chance to mention that it'd be good for people to know?
I think it's really important as well, like for people considering joining FDN, to know that not only do you have like the educational support, but we also really love to support our FDNs in their businesses. So if you go and you specialize in mental health or thyroid or mast cell activation, like whatever it is, we really love to support you by having you. Like, we don't have a podcast in AFDNP, but we do have the webinars, and we love to feature you and promote, whatever it is that you are doing, as long as it doesn't clash with, the things that FDN is doing. And so we kind of come at support not only from a clinical standpoint, but like a business standpoint as well, because like I said before, sound like a broken record, but the success of our grads is the success of FDN, and the bigger your reach, the bigger ours. So it's like it's a win-win relationship, basically. So not only do you have the educational clinical trainings, but we also love to support you from the other side as well.
Yeah, I had someone asking on one of the enrollment calls the other day, they were saying like, "Hey, is it okay to use like any of the FDN content if I ever create like an online course? Like, I'll ask for permission and everything, but is that okay?" I'm like, not only is it okay, I mean, this is encouraged here. Reed Davis's vision for FDN, and I think this was his vision, 14 years ago when he started, but especially now. I mean, this guy's 70 years old. He's made the money he needs to make. He's loved his life and done what he has needed to do. His vision is something that lasts way longer than him. For this to be a household name, for this to be everywhere, for people to have health freedom, that's really his core thing, right? He's always about health freedom and autonomy for the individual, the consumer, to be able to have access to the right labs. Like, you shouldn't be able to go to your doctor and get rejected from a lab that you want, and yet that happens all the time. Our FDN practitioners and clients know that all too well. So you should have the right to have this stuff. Which actually, I'm sorry, it did trigger one question for me because this is so damn cool. You talked about supporting our graduates in getting out there. One thing that gets supported is our graduates end up building some pretty dang cool businesses. And you have people that are doing this full time. And then eventually you might need some support with your business. And so, yes, we have the FDN Business School, but now we also have the AFDNP job board. So, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but humor me. Could we talk about the...
Oh, it cut out. I don't know if you can see me or hear me, but it's frozen and I can't hear you. Can anyone see me?
job board a little bit and what that's used for with our graduates? Uh-oh, did I save us?
There we go. You're back.
All right, cool. I literally ran to the back of the computer, and because I'm on Wi-Fi, and I'm like, dang, I need my Ethernet cable back in. So I plugged the Ethernet in, and magic happened. So hopefully we saved a little bit. Okay.
Sorry, you talk about the job board?
Yes, I other than the self-explanatory aspect of a job board, I'd love to know like why that was built, what that's doing for our community right now. Because I mean, quite frankly, the fact that we even need that, I think, is a testament to the success that FDNs are having.
Yeah, so we get people like companies and also advanced FDNs who have progressed so much in their business that they need to employ people. So that is another perk of being an AFDNP. We have a job board that is exclusively for our members. So if you graduate but you decide not to join, like, more power to you, that's great. But you don't get access to this job board. So it is literally for the people inside AFDNP. And so you get to hear about all these cool jobs first from, doctors, chiropractors, and like I said, very experienced, very successful FDNs. And to learn from those people is amazing. That's like, that's the vibe you want to be in.
Yeah. And listen, I never want to sugarcoat this. The ideal way to do FDN still to this day is to definitely do your own business. Those jobs that come up, I mean, they're good and they are competitive. So it's not like I would never go through FDN just banking on that, especially if you need the income quickly after graduating. If you got time to wait, okay, maybe that would be a plan, but I'd always just look at that as a side benefit that if the perfect thing comes up for you at the perfect time, you're very lucky. But with that said and disclaimed, what has been, because I've been amazed by this, what has been the range of hourly pay and income that has come up on some of these jobs? Because these are not $12 an hour jobs. I mean, this is some pretty serious stuff that FDNs are getting paid.
The lowest I've seen is $75. It normally ranges from 75 to about 150, depending on the experience and the level of like testing that they're requiring. Oh, sorry, knowledge of testing.
Yeah, you understand why it's competitive then. But that's kind of the point, right? It just shows if someone else believes the FDN certification is worth that much to their business, I mean, imagine what it's worth to your own business if you actually go out there and do it on your own. So if you get one of those jobs, congratulations. That's a wonderful perk while you're building up other stuff. But I actually asked that income thing mostly to inspire people to go do their own thing, to show them that this does work. And, there's no shortage of FDN. So if you go do your own thing and you need some more, you post on the job board and now you're the one with the competitive listing, getting other FDNs working under you. So it's really cool. I love that we have it. I think it's amazing that we even need it. And I think that's all I have for today, truly all I have for today. Although I always try to anticipate what the audience is going to ask or what's going to come into our DMs afterwards. And the only thing that's bugging me and not allowing me to get off this stream is we mentioned that we have business support. We also have a business workshop coming up where we're going to be talking about business school. And I could imagine that getting confusing for people. So my true, honest to God, final question, even if something comes up in my head, I will shut my mouth, is how is the AFDNP business support different from the business school support? Because those people also get a group. At the time of recording this, they're separate things. So how would that be different?
So business school, FDN business school is literally going to take you from start to finish. It is like every single baby step along the way. It is designed specifically for FDNs that have just graduated, and you don't have to know how to do anything. Jennifer will take you through everything. The business support we do is kind of more, I guess you could call it top level, but it's in depth about certain topics. So we won't teach you necessarily like how to set up your taxes or set up an LLC or something like that. But we will look at, so the most recent one we had was how to use AI to market in your business, which was a phenomenal webinar. Everyone loved it. So we will kind of take snapshots of little things and go into depth with them. So it's more for, if you just want a bit of support with your marketing and you don't feel like you need your handheld type of thing. Does that make sense?
I was No, it does. Actually, I think it's perfect because now I can really relate this to people. Would it be fair to say then, because I think you guys actually do very similar things to the health side with AFDNP, would it be fair to say that the FDN course, certification course, and the business school, they are A to Z programs for the health and functional side and business respectively, and then AFDNP might be these like one-off topics, but it's high-level stuff that you're still going to enjoy, but it's not necessarily the next logical step. It's not like the curriculum of AFDNP was directly correlated with the main FDN course. It's just, hey, this week we're talking about this. This week we're talking about that. It kind of seems like that'd be a good way to describe it. Does that sound accurate?
That's extremely accurate. Yeah, that's spot
on. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's what keeps it fun too. There is a novelty to the AFDNP group because you never know what you're going to get sometimes. It always ends up working out, especially nowadays coming in once those things are categorized, especially like you almost could make it a further curriculum to a degree if you just progressed through certain topics in the categorized stuff. But AFDNP is mostly like, all right, what's hot? What's trending? What do people want to learn about? So we are really on the cutting edge with stuff like that. And then, of course, you can always ask the community in there for support, whether it's that's what's always interesting. That group, you'll see people one day ask for, hey, I'm about to hire my first employee. What's your advice? To the next day, hey, I just got this weird lab result back. Can you guys help with that? And you get intelligent answers for both in AFDNP. That's what's amazing about that group.
It is great. And everyone wants to help. Everyone is so welcoming and warm. Whenever we get new members, everyone jumps in and welcomes them. And there's no stupid questions either. Everyone's always like, oh, this is my first client, so I'm nervous to answer this question. And everyone always responds so positively and warmly. It's a really, it makes me feel proud, like to be part of this community. It's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lucy, thank you so much for hopping on today. Again, I'd love to have you on the podcast and talk about your story more when we get the time and when that's appropriate. But thank you for coming on and explaining AFDNP today. And thank you for taking on the role, because I have become acutely aware as an employee here as to that's one of the toughest jobs in the company, in my honest opinion. And so someone needs to do it, and it's a huge role. But yeah, thank you for doing that and just making things work for our graduates and myself. I get value from AFDNP all the time. So we appreciate you. And yeah, we appreciate